And we'll end the broadcast this evening with a view from the Americas with guest commentator Laura Carlsen.
When I first came to Mexico City over 20 years ago, you'd walk down the street and you'd see people with all kinds of body types, tall, short, fat, thin, but you almost never saw that double wide size that's so common in the United States. Back then, obesity wasn't a major health problem in Mexico. Like most developing countries, malnutrition among the poor was the big challenge. Today, 30% of Mexicans are obese, and 70% are overweight. In the past 10 years alone, childhood obesity has tripled. What could account for such a rapid and drastic change in the weight of a population? In a word, globalization. Here's why. It used to be that Mexicans produced their own food. They ate a lot like their ancestors did, corn, beans, and rice, with meat or fish when they could get it. Families grew their own fruits and vegetables and gathered wild greens. That might sound a little monotonous, but it turns out it's a good, balanced diet. Then globalization brought the spread of what nutritionists call the Western diet, high in saturated fats, sugar, and refined foods. With free trade agreements, transnational food companies see Latin American countries as growing markets. The result? Junk food, processed meals, and especially soft drinks have replaced traditional and fresh foods. The media is flooded with ads for the new Western diet. As kids watch more TV, they suffer from the temptation to eat badly and the lack of exercise. Mexico is now #1 in the world in childhood obesity. If Mexicans' collective weight gain were a sign of greater abundance, we might accept it as a necessary evil of development. But it turns out malnutrition and obesity are both going up, and especially among the poor. For many families, the lack of clean drinking water means they wind up drinking Coca-Cola. And farmers who used to take their fresh produce to local markets, forced to compete in the globalized economy, have left the land or switched to growing export crops. Nowadays, kids can buy a cheap bag of potato chips or candy at any corner store. This isn't a problem of aesthetics. The globalization of obesity is lethal. 78 Mexicans die every day of obesity-related health problems, including diabetes. The epidemic will cost the government more than $12 billion over the next 10 years. We're all responsible for what we eat. But Mexico's fat crisis proves that when the international market dictates what foods are cheap and accessible, the results can be fatal. For Americas Now, I'm Laura Carlsen.